I wanted to talk about how to tackle a noisy mailbox and your notifications. So I found that as my personal profile is growing, because I have my own podcast and I'm doing public speaking and I'm doing training and I'm doing all these things, I have struggled to keep up with my mailbox. I've struggled to keep up with everything that is coming in, the amazing opportunities coming in. I've also struggled to keep up with all of the notifications on LinkedIn, for instance, or other social platforms. So if you have any tips on that, please let us know. But I did want to say that some of the things that I'm doing that are helping me are actually deleting notifications. So if you go into Facebook or LinkedIn or even in your messages inbox, there is an opportunity to either delete the notification or to mute certain notifications, but you can also archive chats. So I find it quite hard to know if I've read something and then haven't responded to someone. And I do this often and I never mean to, but it's just, if you're getting, hundreds of messages every day, you don't always see them. So what I do is I actually archive a conversation once I'm done with it. So it clears out of my LinkedIn mailbox, for instance, and then I know that whatever's there is just what I haven't answered yet. We've had some tips actually about having your phone on silent. So having your phone on silent is a great tip. I put my phone in do not disturb at certain parts of the day. I also mute my notifications as well. I think it's important to think about, one of the things I've been musing on is when we react so quickly and we send an email and we say, I need this now. I've got to have this now. And we might send that to a client, or we're on the receiving end from a client. But sometimes things might change, in half an hour or in a couple of minutes. So actually, what I do is I only check my emails in the morning and the afternoon, and in the evening. So I've got set intervals at different parts of the day when I check my emails, and then I have time set aside to do other work. At the moment, if it's a sales email, I'll either reply, because I like to reply if I can, and say, look, I'm not interested, or I'll unsubscribe or I'll delete it. But I try to minimize what's coming into my mailbox. So I'm a big fan of the unsubscribe button. If you look at all of your mailing lists, if you check your what's coming in when, what brilliant newsletters you're on, some of them are great, but some of them might just be feeling like, why am I getting this message? If you have things that you feel yucky about, just unsubscribe or put them in a rule set to go to a folder so that you only check that when you have time to check those newsletters, and then it doesn't take you away from tasks that you should be on track with. Jude shared that you should check your email 3 times a day and schedule the time. I'm glad that you do that. I do the same. It really helps me. And what I also do is set an out of office to say, look, I only check my emails at these times, or, if you're a client, drop me a text if it's something urgent and I'll call you right away. But one of the things I've noticed is when we're out filming and doing other things, we don't have time to be glued to our emails. I think using your mailbox, your emails, as your to-do list is actually quite a damaging thing to do. So if, for instance, I used to do this, I used to turn up to work, whether for working for myself or for another business, and I would look at my mailbox as my list of things to do for the day, what, depending on who was chasing what was coming in. But actually, when you just look at your emails all day, you can be very busy just doing emails, and it doesn't give you the time to do the planning or the strategy that sometimes is so important. It's also about boundaries. So, it might be that you need to say to people, look, I check my emails at unsocial hours, but I don't expect a reply. Or drafting emails, I do that a lot. I draft emails to schedule to go out at a later time, at a more socially acceptable time, like 8 a.m. rather than 3 a.m. when I'm most productive. So those are just some of my tips. I also use a lot of categories. I use things like color coding in my mailbox to keep it simple. But one of the things I've learned that's so valuable is the archive button. I tend to use folders less now, because unless it's a rule like newsletters to go to a folder, I find being able to just archive something and then search for it when I need it is great.